All right, we're at Rich East High School on April 15th, Friday, with Mrs. Debra Thomas, who won a Golden Apple Award.
Yes.
Very coveted award for educators in
Yes.
the Chicagoland area or state of Illinois?
Yes. 6 counties.
6 counties.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And why don't you tell us about yourself?
Oh, okay. Well, I'm a native Chicagoan. A married mother of two sons, an 18-year-old and a 22-year-old. My 22-year-old is a young man with autism, which has inspired me to enter the field of special education.
Mm-hmm.
I was a strong advocate as a parent, along with my husband, for many, many years during the IEP process, which can be extremely daunting for parents.
Sure.
So as I entered the field, the thought and the goal was to be an advocate for my students as well as my parents. And I take great pride in saying that I've been pretty successful in doing that. I attended public schools up to high school. I went to a Catholic high school in Chicago. And when I left high school, I entered the workforce as I was studying fashion merchandising. And so I didn't complete, that was a 2-year degree that I was just a few classes short of completing the associate's degree for that. But I went into retail management from there. And I really, really loved creating a huge customer base. And I left the state of Illinois. I lived in Atlanta, Georgia for a year before returning back to my home state. And again, re-entered management in fine jewelry sales. And then I worked 13 years for a company, a family-owned company, lovely company, before they went out of business. And then I worked in a corporate office training for Sprint before they actually left our state.
No kidding.
While I worked at Sprint, I did substitute. So I substituted for maybe about 12 years.
Okay.
While I worked at Sprint and while I was earning my degrees. So my special ed degree in master's, my graduate work is at University of Illinois in Chicago, UIC.
And how long have you been at Rich East?
Rich East, I'm closing out on my 8th year. Like I said, my assistant and I, Nija Simmons, started together. We're closing out on our 8th year here.
And what does the Golden Apple mean to you?
The Golden Apple is probably it is the most prestigious honor. In my previous works, I've received honors, plaques, and awards for outstanding service. But this is absolutely, without a doubt, the most honorable award that I have received. I was nominated by a colleague, social worker, Derek Reese. And when he was telling me, oh, watch out, you get something. And I did receive a notification that I was nominated. And I kind of pushed the envelope to the side. But then I went back to it and I looked and I thought, oh, there's a deadline on this. But I'll submit it. So I went through the process. It's a very intense application. Essay questions that I had to respond to. My responses totaled, I think, 7 pages. So I gave very, very thorough thought to the questions. So in the application, I spoke about my life, my personal life, my experiences as a student, and my work experience outside of the district and within the district. I had to have colleagues submit responses as well. So I was really, really surprised when I got the notification that I was a finalist.
Sure.
Out of one of 30 from 400 nominations. So I was really, really very, very gracious for that. So with that, the honor I received for just being a finalist was an invitation to a morning, a brunch in Chicago. My principal, Mark Kramer, and I attended, along with my supervisor, Jackie Bailey Moss, who's the instructional leader for special education,
Okay.
along with my husband and my two sons, and my brother and his girlfriend. So that was a wonderful event to attend, and I did receive a plaque. I have it on my wall,
Mm-hmm.
and I tell people all the time, or I told people during the last 2 weeks, you know what? That was just a surprise in itself, and if it stopped there, then I'm still gracious. But lo and behold, a week passed by, week and a half. I hadn't heard anything. My colleagues were asking, have you heard anything? And my parents were asking me as well. And it just so happens that this past Monday, I was on the phone with a parent regarding the child. And she did ask me, have you heard anything? And the reason she took an interest is because she sat in on a parent focus group,
Mm-hmm.
which was a requirement as well. So it's a long process.
Sure.
So I had two members, Gloria Hopper and Winnie Sparhira. I hope I didn't mess up the name. They were lovely ladies, part of Golden Apple, who came and observed for the entire day. So their observation consisted of an interview with the principal, Mark Kramer, a brief interview with me. They sat in on 2 of my lessons. They interviewed a group of my colleagues, a group of my students, and a group of my students' parents.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and they were extremely impressed, very impressed.
It sounds like they were. How would you describe what do you love about special education?
I like my life goal, and what I do and I'm most proud of is taking my students outside of the box. Believe it or not, I've had colleagues say, oh, they don't need to know this, they don't need to know that. Well, yes, they do,
Sure.
because they're citizens of our society. So why wouldn't they be entitled to know everything that they can to maximize their potential? And that's my belief. I take my kids outside of the box, I challenge them. I'm the special ed teacher who says, okay, yeah, we can talk about college. We don't have to rule that out.
Sure.
So, and then another thing that I'm really aggressive about is honoring my parents for what they do. I'm a really, really, really stickler on that. Whatever my parents, I interact with my parents. There's not a day that goes by when I don't talk to a parent on the telephone, or a parent may drop in. So taking my kids outside of the box and challenging them, and again, offering all the support and respect for my parents.
And how old are your students?
My students range anywhere from age 14 to 18. So I'm an academic special ed teacher. The Alpha program is we serve the low incidence population. And so after they've finished their academic requirements, they have the option of transitioning to what we call the transition program. I personally refer to it as the young adult program, in which they can stay until one day before they turn age 22.
They can stay here?
They can stay here. And this is throughout the state of Illinois. Other schools have a similar program.
Sure. What are some of the biggest challenges you've had?
Well, some of the biggest challenges I have are our students who may be higher functioning, and the socialization with their gen ed, typically developing peers. Sometimes our students may not want their Gen Ed peers or the typically developing peers to know that they're in the Alpha program. We also find that students in other special ed program, there's another special ed program that serves the high incidence population. And a lot of times, I have to convey to our students, well, you're in a program that just offers more support. And a lot of times our kids function higher than they think compared to their peers outside of the Alpha program.
What do you want people to know about autism?
Great. Thank you very much for asking that question. I appreciate it. One of the first things that I tell people is identify the individual first. So it's not an autistic boy or an autistic girl or an autistic this or that. It's a young lady with autism. It's a young man with autism. So first identify the individual. But I also want people to understand, sometimes people, when they hear the word autism, they think of anomaly. And they think of the unusual, strange. But my kids, including my son with autism, they grow by leaps and bounds. And we should not underestimate their capability. So you treat it, and and it's funny too, because when I introduce myself as a special education teacher, people typically will say, oh, I feel sorry for those kids. Our kids are the last kids you should feel sorry for, because in my classroom, I make my kids happy. They come to me happy, and I send them home happy. So this idea that all special ed kids are pitiful, particularly our kids with autism, that's a misconception. And I have to educate people on that.
What is the symbolism of the puzzle piece?
The symbolism of, you
Saw
notice that?
on your wrist, and I've seen it before.
Yes, that's right. The symbolism of the puzzle piece, obviously, this is a representation of individuals with autism. So the puzzle it's a mystery. There's a lot of controversy, as you probably know, regarding the cause of autism. The mystery around the prevalence of autism. And it seems like each year the numbers and the stats are implying that, wow, 1 in 4 or 25% or 30% chance of children will develop autism. So that's pretty much it. It's my interpretation, is the mystification of autism.
And what now? What do you have planned? I mean, this is kind of this is an amazing recognition. And
yes, absolutely. It's been a whirlwind. I've received so many accolades and praise and congratulations from my colleagues, my students, and my parents. And it's really heartwarming to receive that kind of recognition. As you know, there are some special rewards that come along with being recognized. I'm a fellow for life. And so now that, people have said to me, oh, well, this is the beginning of new things. And I intend to further my education. Learning, I've always said learning is ongoing and it's lifelong. So with that, I will take advantage of a sabbatical at Northwestern.
Cool.
That's part of the Golden Apple Award. And I was reminded by Gloria Hopper, the Golden Apple executive, who reminded me, now make sure you give back. And And I said to myself and to her, that's not difficult, because that's what I'm all about. That's what I do.
Oh, cool. And what would you like to say about all of this? I mean, this is incredible.
Well, I would first like to say that Miss Thomas is a great inspiration to me, because not only is she an advocate for the parents as well as the students, but even to her colleagues. It's many of us that could piggyback off of her example of working, her work ethics, just her mannerism, her words of encouragement, and just for me to speak for myself, she has encouraged me to continue on with school and to show me, that work is just not work. Work has a lot that comes with it, and to work with students with disabilities should be a number one.
Sure.
It should be a number one. And so working with Miss Thomas has made me stronger in my work ethics as far as working with those students who has a disability.
Well, I appreciate both of you.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time, and like I said, let's keep in touch.
Absolutely.
And this is Gary Kopachinski for eNews Park Forest, and please share this video with your friends. And we want to thank Mrs. Debra Thomas and Ms. Simmons. This is incredible. So,
It is incredible. It gives us our town a boost, and I'm really, really proud to be a part of that boost.
thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you very much for